Cool. So we're going to get started with some Aussie CAD. So everything from last week is still there. So as we're going, we'll just delete whatever is not relevant to us, and then whatever is still relevant, we'll keep it there. So let me remove all of my alerts because I don't feel like I need them now. Otherwise, from last week, as usual, whatever's blue, we were looking for bullish bias, or we did have a bullish bias on, and whatever was purple, we did have a bearish bias on. So as we go through, we'll be doing the exact same things. We'll do analysis on all of our pairs, but then what is important to us next week, we'll mark with a marker, and then what's not important to us next week, we'll just leave blank like we did with the other pairs last week. So on Aussie CAD, higher time frame structure still kind of remains the same. We've got this momentum over here. We've got a corrective structure, and we want to basically trade this corrective structure. Hoping to see that follow through. Jesus, what am I pressing now? Basically hoping to see the follow through to the upside to come and maybe complete the 90% rule of this corrective structure here. So that's our higher time frame expectation, right? So when we come just to the most recent structure here, we obviously understand that there's our support trend line, first touch, second touch, third touch. We're somewhere at support. So we should be naturally looking for our bullish bias trading opportunities. Now, if we just look at the most recent structure on a daily, I think what we can do for ourselves to reference, just to make sure that, because we are right now, we are in some sort of a seller's market. Yes, maybe on a smaller time frame, like a 4 hour, we're more bullish than we are bearish. But on a daily, we're still quite bearish. We are still inside of a seller's market. So we still need to be safe on where we choose to take these bullish trading opportunities. So what I want to do is I want us to just look at this resistance trend line here, just this most recent price action here. I'm going to delete it. I'm not going to leave it there on the charts. I'm going to delete it. But what I want us to do is keep in mind this resistance trend line. And let's understand that as long as price action is maybe below this resistance trend line on a daily, maybe we are still inside of a seller's market. And whenever we choose to buy, we want to buy as low as possible. So it helps us kind of just formulate, or at least consider the higher time frame context, so that even when we drop down onto the 4 hour or whatever lower time frames we're going to be trading on, we still understand the higher time frame context. Cool. So let's go down to a 4 hour. So 4 hour, we basically had a whole lot of structure. I think I'll delete all of this stuff now, whatever as we go on, and just maybe reference the structure. But nonetheless, we were at support, right? We had some sort of an expanding structure, descending, expanding structure over here. Obviously, we see momentum breaking the structure. They had a continuation structure. Then obviously we see a whole lot of momentum that is able to violate a resistance area, at least a nice important resistance area. Obviously we were looking for continuation of the structure. We had our POI over there. We were expecting maybe price action to come and give us a third touch at this POI, but obviously, like we always say, that our forecasts are, we can say, a fiction. The analysis is the fact. What we mean by that is that our forecast is telling us what we're expecting and how we're going to take action if the market presents to us what we're looking, or what we expect the market to present for us. The truth is that how the market will deliver the price action that we forecast in our sessions, we have no idea how the market will deliver that forecast. And so we always need to leave, like we say, we're just waiting for price to come to this POI, and we're waiting for a reversal structure. That's all we need for our forecast, because we don't know how price will really deliver this price action. But we know that if we see price action maybe coming to a POI and giving us some price action that warrants us to maybe look for that entry, then that's a setup for us. But otherwise, this was basically our overall our kind of analysis last week. We were looking for that bullish bias. So let's just delete all of this. Maybe that's not really relevant. What we'll do is let's just include whatever new price action we've got there. We'll move this to this low over here, just accommodate for this new low that we have over here. And do see that, okay, cool. Yes, we have the potential maybe for price action to give us some sort of, let's just delete this as well, maybe some sort of a nice corrective structure. If you guys remember from last week, what we were speaking about was in this expanding structure, we were basically expecting that, okay, cool, price action maybe wanted to violate this low over here, but we were expecting that this violation that happened over here, we were expecting that maybe that violation was going to be a little bit deeper to give us that third touch. And then obviously we were going to look for our bullish bias trading opportunities. On a 4 hour, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because on a 4 hour, we don't have any points of interest that we can use to refine a nice level of structure or a nice area where maybe we want to trade. What we do have though is we've got this support over here, obviously, where we can see that, okay, cool, maybe we did get that grab, that small grab, But nonetheless, price action reacted from this area as a support. What we can see in this overall structure is that we've got a nice first touch, second touch, and probabilities will align for us a lot better for the buy if we wait for that third touch. Where does that third touch also align with? That third touch aligns with some sort of a level of support. So that makes our job so much more simpler. All we're waiting for is we're just waiting for price action to do whatever, because we know that we can't buy. Remember our context, we said that if we want to be a buyer, we are still in a seller's market from a daily time frame. And if we want to be a buyer and be a very safe buyer, we need to buy as low as possible, because the lower we buy, the better our probabilities, the better the risk to reward ratio, all that nice good stuff that we want to have as traders. So otherwise, our job is simple now. All we're doing is we're expecting price action to obviously come down and give us a third touch. In and around this area, we're looking for a reversal structure. Whether that reversal structure is a double bottom, inverse head and shoulders, doesn't really matter. We're looking for a reason to then be bullish on this setup. Simple enough. Once price action comes down, gives us third touch, we're waiting for any reversal structure, and that is a bullish setup. I'm still 100% bullish on AUDCAD. All we're waiting for is now for a setup to produce itself for us to do the things to be done. So next week, I'll still just leave this blue tag on there, because I still do feel like this can develop in the space of next week. And even if it doesn't, if we push to the upside or whatever the case is, we'll do new analysis. And then obviously, if there is momentum, we'll look to catch whatever continuation of that momentum, that retest structure. We're still going to be bullish. Let's go on to some Aussie Swiss franc. Cool. So last week, we decided that we're going to kind of stay out of this pair over here. But nonetheless, let's just keep focusing on just the most recent price action, because things are hectic, higher time frame. So anyway, on a smaller time frame, where we can even go down straight to a 4-hour, and we'll discuss some daily structure as well while we're on the 4-hour. Because I do tell you guys, and maybe just a reminder or an update for anyone that doesn't know, if I'm on the 4-hour, I'm on a 4-hour and I'm looking at my chart and I cannot see individual candlesticks, then it's just as good as me being on a daily chart and being able to see the candlesticks on a daily. Otherwise, once I'm able to see each individual candlestick, once each individual candlestick is defined to me, then the structure that is on my chart is 4-hour structure. Cool. So basically from a daily, what we can see is we've got this descending structure here. This is what we're using, obviously, to make our decisions to work with. We're using this for information. Nonetheless, we broke this descending structure to the upside. We spoke about it last week that yes, we did break, but we did not break in a fairly impulsive manner. This is a very corrective price action. Yes, we are making higher highs and higher lows, but we're doing so in a corrective manner. Nonetheless, what we observed is we had extreme resistance pushing down, giving us extreme support. Obviously, this was the last push that managed to break a level of structure, being this support here in this market that has been moving to the downside. So obviously, we observed that ever since price created this resistance and this support, we are inside of that resistance and that support. And naturally, once we observe a range, we would rather treat it like a range. Look for selling probabilities from the high of the range, buying probabilities from the low of the range. We then discussed that because this is a descending structure, we normally want to be buyers rather than sellers. But obviously, the structure is not warranting us to do that right now, because this structure is not showing us any bullish bias price action. It's not really giving us any bullish bias setups. So anyway, let's get into what we're going to be doing this week, because everything that we just discussed, maybe I can say is still relevant to us or to the decision-making process this week. So just looking at the most recent 4-hour structure here, we're still stuck inside of this range that we've been talking about. Let's just delete this over here. Cool. High of the range, low of the range. If one wants to do this, one could obviously isolate whatever ascending structure if you can. Whatever resistance over there, mark out whatever extreme resistance you have over here. And then obviously you've got some sort of an ascending structure, or even if you want to look at just the most recent structure, there's still an expanding structure here if you go and look at a 1-hour. Looks like a very weird structure. Jesus. That means that on a 1-hour, there's still potential for price action to come up to this resistance. But nonetheless, point I'm trying to make, let's just delete all of this crap that we just drew down. Point I'm trying to make is that the closer we get to resistance, obviously we can't be looking for buys as much as this is a descending structure and we want to be bullish. What we need to be doing for bullish price action is waiting for price action to come down to the low of the range, because we understand that since we're in a range, unless we see a chart pattern like in this case, maybe there's an ascending structure that increases the probabilities, maybe for that sell buyer setup. If we want to buy and maybe we're somewhere in the middle of this range, we need to be able to see a structure at least that increases the probabilities of me taking this buy in the center of my range. So cool, I want to be bullish. Price action is not allowing me to be bullish. It's rather maybe giving more of a bearish buy setup. So let's just wait on a bearish buy setup. Observe the fact that maybe we've got, I think let's just not use this resistance as yet, because something can still happen over here by the time we look at markets on Monday. But nonetheless, let's just use this as reference for now. And obviously, if you want to be a seller, then all you're doing is simply just waiting for price action to give you a sell buyer setup at your resistance, because this is your extreme high. This is kind of where you want to sell. And by the way, there's also a nice, an actual beautiful POI over here for our momentum shift. Just delete it. Just make it a little bit more neater. For a sell buy setup, here's a sell buy setup. So I think for myself, I'm still going to remain out of the sell buy setups. I don't need to trade Aussie Swiss franc to the downside. But nonetheless, it is a sell buy setup. I think for any buyers, for any bullish buy setups, I'm still going to be patient and wait to see if price action does come lower. But otherwise, looks like market is more, is going to probably give the sellers more setups or selling opportunities than it's going to do for the buyers. So I think if you want to sell, then obviously go ahead, wait for your setup up high. And otherwise, for myself, I'll wait for the buys down low. So for Aussie Swiss franc next week, I'm just going to leave it blank because I'm not going to be doing anything on this pair unless I see a whole lot of momentum pushing price action down. Let's go on to some AJ. So last week on AJ, we were basically looking for some downside continuation. Okay, cool. So we're still stuck inside. Remember last week we spoke about a range that made us, sorry, not, let me rephrase and think about where I am. The previous trading week just passed, not the previous trading week, the week before that week was the week that we discussed this whole thing about not trading because of the momentum on Monday and whatever. Even through the space of last week, we've still been stuck inside of that range that we made 2 weeks ago. So obviously, we've still been staying out of AJ. Nothing changes for AJ, so I'm going to be very quick on AJ. We've got an ascending structure. We've got previous resistance over here that we've broken above and broken back below. We've got a nice POI point of interest that we've marked there on a 1 hour, I think it was. It's definitely not on a 4 hour, because even if you go down to a 4 hour, we'll see that it's in the wick. So it's on a 1 hour. We basically got 2 POIs there on a 1 hour. What I'm doing is I'm exercising patience. I'm still going to, again, set my alert for here because I want to focus on price action. I want to sell AJ once we're inside of this zone where I saw other people selling. Probably if they're still there, they're going to probably want to sell it. So I want to sell inside this POI. If this setup fails, then obviously I'm looking to sell at this high. And that's the last place that I'm looking to look for a sell buy setup on AJ. All I'm going to do to accommodate for this new support is just move my support trend line there. And then obviously maybe we can just extend the lines and say, okay, cool. Maybe price action might just mess with us a little bit inside of this area here. And then maybe give us a higher sell up there to complete the overall. I don't know. But nonetheless, first place where I'm going to be looking to sell, obviously we wait for price action to come here. Once we're here, we look for a bearish bias chart pattern. Double top, head and shoulders, ascending structure, anything that gives us a reason to sell because we're at an area where we want to sell. Otherwise, if this fails and price action moves higher, this is the next area where we're going to be looking to find that downside continuation. So AJ, still 100% bearish on AJ. I'm definitely going to keep the purple tag on AJ because we are moving to the upside and maybe this is going to set us up for that sell that we've been waiting to jump into. So yeah, let's go on to some AU. We'll go up onto the daily. So basically on AU, we've just been focusing on most recent price action because we have been looking for buys, but AU's just been full of nonsense and she's just been moving to the downside. So we've just decided we'll play it safe, wait for those chart patterns. When those chart patterns pop up, then we make decisions on bullish bias price action. Cool. So one of the areas where we were looking to buy was obviously down low. We can see the price was giving us some sort of a reversal structure. So anyway, we're focusing on just the most recent price action. So let's just go down to a 4 hour and then see what's cooking here on AU. So on AU, reason why we were bullish was obviously we saw price action breaking below this support. We broke back above the support, obviously breaking some resistance as we were going to the upside. So nonetheless, we wanted to trade in the direction of this most recent momentum. looking for that upside continuation. There was some awkward looking structure there. There was a POI over here. I didn't trade AU last week. I don't know why. Maybe I just didn't see it. I didn't even look at AU last week. I don't know why I didn't buy from here, but I know myself. I would have bought from here. I don't know if I would have been able to manage the trade, but there was a reaction, and obviously price action came a little bit lower. So I think if I did trade AU, maybe I would have taken an L. I don't know. But otherwise, we came down and gave some sort of a third touch, and there's some upside momentum. So all I'm going to do is keep following and trading just the most recent price action. Let's just delete all of this drawings quickly, and then we're going to speak about what we're doing now. So basically what we're doing, let's just look at this low over here. You guys can see I marked it out, right? This low also aligns with this most recent low over here, because you guys can see inside of this structure, we've got the most recent low that price action has broken below and broken back above. So obviously for upside continuation, I'm looking for my corrective structure to terminate somewhere in and around this area for my upside continuation. If I want to go down, because this is what I'm going to do during the week, I'm obviously going to go down on the time frames and look for that bullish engulfing candlestick to find, oh, this is where the momentum started. Do I find it here? I think maybe we have to go just one lower. Jesus. No, I don't want to find it to a 1 minute. I think the best bullish engulfing that we can find here is on a 15. I mean on a 5 minute. Let me just do this so that we can mark it out for you guys. If you guys can see, there's a nice pin, and then obviously there's a higher close candlestick. So that's a bullish engulfing for me. I don't know how or what rules you guys have to define your structures, but this to me is a bullish engulfing candlestick. Boom. So coming back to where we were on the 4 hour, looking at what we observed on a 4 hour, we can see that there is a POI on a smaller time frame that does align where we want to find upside continuation. So all we're doing on AU is just waiting for our corrective structure to terminate somewhere in and around this POI. If price action comes down into there, that's where I want to focus on price action. Once we're inside of this POI, all I'm doing is just focusing for a chart pattern that gives me a place, because obviously I don't want to be inside of here and buy once and take a L and buy twice and take a L and buy 3 times and take a L, only to find out that price action was making a descending structure, and all I could have done was just waited for the third touch and just taken a bullish engulfing and got one trade, good trade, no emotions. That's what I want. So all we're doing, waiting for price action to come to the POI. The chart pattern will tell us when to pull the trigger while price is where we want it to be to look for our buys. Cool. So I'll leave our tag there. I think it's still important for us to keep an eye on, as well as AJ. Seems like we're going to keep the same watch list as last week. Otherwise, let's go on to some Susian. So Susian, we were looking to trade extreme highs. So Susian is being a little bit of a something. Anyway, here's that volatility of that other week where we had extreme highs and extreme lows and whatever. You guys can see Thursday came into that low, Friday pushed away from that low. We want to sell these JPY code pairs. So simply just means that Susian, we're not going to trade it next week because it's going to require some patience for us to wait for price action to come to a high where we'll get probabilities if we want to be sellers. Because I don't want to be a buyer now. So for me, I'm looking to sell these JPY code pairs. So I'll just exercise patience on Susian. I don't think we need to trade it. Let's not even talk about it because there's other pairs that are so much better looking than Susian now. So New Zealand dollar CAD. One pair is missing, guys. What happened to New Zealand dollar yen? Can I just add my pair? Jesus. I'm wondering what is going on here. My watch list is looking a little bit empty. I wonder who was playing with my empty phone and deleted my New Zealand dollar yen. But anyway, New Zealand dollar CAD. So on New Zealand dollar CAD, we were basically descending structure, higher time frame. We were looking for longs, right? But nonetheless, let's just focus on the most recent price action because that's what we were doing. Okay, this is old analysis, looking for those buys. Just delete this. Otherwise, we were looking for sell buys trading, or at least we were looking for upside continuation. Same as AUDCAD, we're still looking for bullish buys trading opportunities. But obviously, you guys can see, same thing like AUDCAD, we're coming up correctively. So obviously, all I was doing was I was trying to be a trader and just trade what I found or what I saw. So I sold New Zealand dollar CAD sometime last week. Took a nice L on New Zealand dollar CAD, but it was what it was anyway. But nonetheless, you guys can see the update. I was trying to find this ascending structure, first touch, second touch, third touch. At the time, I didn't know price action was going to give an ascending structure and give us another 3 touches on a smaller time frame, but that's just how trading is. You adjust, you evolve with the structure. If you fail to evolve, then market will continue to kill you because you're not seeing how buyers are not making the decisions or sellers are not making the decisions the way that you thought they were going to make. And obviously you adapt and accommodate. So nonetheless, price decided it wants to make an ascending structure. I think we're still at resistance, or at least, yeah, it's still clear that we're still at this high or extreme high that we're looking at. We're still at resistance. So I think there's still no reason for us to be extremely bullish on this pair. If anything, it looks like it could be more ready for a sell than a buy. So I think, oh, and price is just in this PLI over here on a 4 hour. What do we do now? Let's delete this. Focus on the most recent price action. Delete this nonsense. I don't want to see what losing trades look like. I want to see what winning trades look like, not losing trades. Anyway, there's our previous resistance that we broke above, broke back below. So hopefully by the time we look at price on Monday, maybe we're still at this resistance, creating some sort of a structure that will allow us to try and maybe sell New Zealand dollar CAD. So I think, yeah, let's try and hedge these CAD pairs and also maybe try and just look for a sell on New Zealand dollar CAD next week, because I think the structure is okay. And maybe if we're going to exercise patience, let's say, for example, on Aussie CAD, if we're going to exercise patience and wait for price action to come down here and give us that buy, then maybe we'll be able to capitalize on any downside momentum on CAD, on these CAD code pairs on New Zealand dollar CAD. So let's just open up New Zealand dollar CAD for those sell buy trading opportunities. All we're looking for is just a reversal structure in this area. Price is already where we want it to be. On Monday, it's just a matter of analyzing and see, is there something that can allow me to sell? Let's go on to New Zealand dollar yen. So on New Zealand dollar yen, we were staying out of this pair for a while, but I feel like she's hot now. I feel like she's a little bit hot now. So anyway, we had this range. So we're stuck inside of this range. Anyway, we spoke about this new expanding structure here. Anyway, what I have here, okay, let's speak about the most recent price action. So there is momentum here. There is this momentum that managed to break structure. There is this downside momentum. We did break some sort of a support there in the past. So I can trade with this downside momentum. And if these are the institutions maybe that came at that high, then price action is for sure not going to break that high. That's just how the price, it's just how the markets are. How uptrends are made and how downtrends are made. That if my guy, my Nando's guy, if Bob is sitting up here and he's got his sell and he's got a whole lot of money, obviously if price action comes here, he's going to sell again and price will never break above that high. If Bob is not there and Bob was waiting for price action to sell higher, then price action will break above that high. So if Bob is there in the market, where do I want to trade? I want to kind of try and find a trading opportunity below this resistance area up here. So let's just delete this PRI because clearly price action reacted, but now we've broken above. We do still have this area over here. Our extreme high, remember this extreme high? We've broken above, we've broken back below, and obviously at a later date in time, we can come back to retest. Now, if we focus on just the most recent price action, 4 hour, you guys can see this expanding, ascending structure. Why am I saying expanding? Some sort of an ascending structure. I don't know what you want to call it, rising wedge, call it whatever. It's going up, making higher highs, higher lows. So it's an ascending structure. Obviously, first touch, second touch, we're at the third touch now. So that simply means that all we need to be doing, obviously, you guys can see this is momentum. If we're looking to do the opposite and price action comes fast where we're looking to sell, we need to wait for these buyers that we can see are right here, they're there. We need to wait for them to exit the market. The only way we'll know that they're out of the market is if we see the deceleration, maybe an ascending structure. If this ascending structure fails and turns into a head and shoulders, it doesn't matter, or whatever the case is. All that matters is that once this reversal structure forms, that will be our trigger, our indication to then look to pull the trigger on finding our sell that we've been looking for on New Zealand dollar yen. So we're in the area where we want it to be. Our focus is just on finding a chart pattern so that we can do the things to be done. So New Zealand dollar yen, we're looking to sell. It's right where we want to sell it. Let's go on to US30. So US30, yeah, US30 is becoming something else for me. I'm feeling like like US30 requires me to really be on the ball every day. Like US30 just messes around with my forecasts, but I'm still able to trade US30 if I just accommodate for whatever happened yesterday and think about what could happen today and find out how do I capitalize on whatever could happen today based off yesterday's price action. Just trading on a day-to-day basis has been a young blessing on US30. But anyway, coming back to the price action, we've got this descending structure, right? Most recent structure, or at least on a daily, is this momentum. Jesus. Select that. Is this momentum to the downside? We did violate a level of structure. But obviously, if we go down onto a smaller time frame, if we just look at the most recent structure, we've got our most recent momentum over here that violated this level of structure. Price has broken above that resistance area over there. So it doesn't make things any more simpler. All it does for us is that it makes us look at this is our extreme high and this is our extreme low, and that just equals we are stuck inside of a range. And so whenever we're stuck inside of a range, we try and increase the probabilities for ourselves. One thing that we can do is we can look to trade at extreme highs or extreme lows. Another thing that we can do is we can look for chart patterns and structures that give us areas of probability inside all of this nonsense that's going on. So anyway, on a 4-hour, we're just kind of trying to stick to the most recent price action. And at the same time on US30, you see all these buyers that came into the market here. I want to be in with these buyers if ever this is just a higher time frame. Let's just say, for example, there's our resistance. What did I just do? For example, there's our resistance and we've just broken above, and obviously maybe we're retesting for more upside. I want to be involved with these buyers here that were able to break this resistance over here. So I kind of also still want to look for my bullish buyers momentum. Let's come into just the most recent 4 hours price action. We always want to buy where we see other people buying. The most obvious evidence of buyers is a bullish engulfing. Where do I see bullish engulfings on a 4-hour? I see a bullish engulfing over here. I do see another bullish engulfing over here, but let's just leave it for now because it's small. And I see another bullish engulfing down low. So I already know that for me to be able to find my upside continuations at these higher time frame POIs, or at least where I'll get the best probabilities for me to be able to do those stupid things like stack and go full margin, these are my higher time frame POIs. And obviously I want to always try and trade at a higher time frame POI whenever I can. Do we need to go down to a 1 hour? So, okay, let's delete this. There's no even need for us to explain all of this because it's got nothing to do with Monday. Like even, cool. I think, let me just delete all of this. Just delete all of this nonsense here and see where we are again in the price action. Cool. So anyway, we've got our, this line here is not resistance, but it's basically, okay, I'm not going to explain what it is, but it's something. It's something where price action can react, some sort of a resistance, but it's not a resistance like an extreme high like this resistance. Some other type of resistance that I've been learning. I want to follow Bob wherever Bob is trading, and I'm learning how to find where Bob likes to trade. But anyway, looking at the structure, so cool. There's no like chart pattern that we can try and isolate. I feel like we'll be forcing a pattern if we try and isolate like maybe an ascending structure or an expanding structure, whatever the case is. All I'm going to do is just focus on higher highs and higher lows, or whatever the case is, to kind of make sense of what's going on here. So otherwise, I've got my overall momentum that I want to trade. I want to trade that overall momentum. I want to buy somewhere in here. I want to buy somewhere in here. And maybe now on a 1 hour, we can see that big bullish engulfing. Maybe we can refine it to just this small bullish engulfing on a 1 hour inside of here. So we can say, okay, cool, maybe there's 3 areas where I can try and buy if price action comes down to. For me to try and buy anyway inside of here, I'm stuck inside of a range. And obviously I'll have to trade the ranges like what it is, try and look for buys at extreme highs and extreme lows. That's not relevant for us right now. Let's talk about higher time frame structure. What we have just in the most recent price action here, we've got this momentum over here, and we've broken that momentum and created a new lower low. Where did all of those sellers come in that managed to break this support over here? Because obviously these buyers broke resistance here, and I don't know whatever other resistance in the past. These sellers that came in here, they're more than the buyers that came in over here. So obviously, if ever I want to sell, I'm probably going to want to sell somewhere inside of this momentum, inside of this big wick over here. So maybe we'll go down on a 15-minute or whatever the case is, look for our bearish engulfings, and then try and sell wherever we see the buyers involved, wherever the buyers are inside of that bearish engulfing. We want to try and buy or sell inside of those buyers, wherever the buyers were buying. But otherwise, I think for US30, I am very much bullish bias. I do want to buy. For a sell, I think if price action comes up there, maybe if there's a structure that develops, yeah, cool, let's try and sell. But what I am focused on is I want to see price action basically breaking this low over here. This is my trigger for me to kind of try and focus for completions or for any structures. Now, once price action basically violates this low over here, my focus is on, cool, we've broken this low. There's no more liquidity that we need to come and grab here. If price action is going to come lower after we've broken this low, then we've got an objective. My clear objective is to come here and buy where all of these bullish engulfing buyers bought. That's kind of what my idea on trading US30 is. So all I'm doing is just waiting for price action to come down and give me some opportunity to buy at this POI there. I'm bullish on US30, but I will also sell US30 if we do come up to this resistance area. Obviously, we need to pay attention to the chart pattern that develops as we come up. But right now, I don't know. Let's just look and see if on Monday we are outside of this volatility. You guys can see a lot happened there. There was a spike or whatever, and price action after all of these buyers came in. There's a bearish engulfing, a whole lot of sellers. So if I asked myself using reason and logic, which direction is market going after I see a bullish pin bar and a bearish engulfing candlestick, market is not going anywhere. So do I want to trade inside here where market has no direction? Maybe not. Can I trade extreme highs and extreme lows? Yes, if there's a structure that allows me to trade at that extreme high or at that extreme low. But I probably don't want to trade inside there. I want to trade at higher time frame levels of structure. I hope I wasn't confusing on US30. But US30, basically, this is where I'm looking to buy. Done and dusted. I think I'm 100% done with the analysis. Cool, we've got a little bit more pairs at least, because last week we had like 4 pairs. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 pairs at least this week that we're going to be looking to trade. Obviously 3 buys and then 3 sells. 2 of those sells obviously on JPY code pairs. So obviously if we're looking to sell 2 pairs that both have the same code pair, then that means that if they both sell, then that means JPY is the major mover in these markets. But there is still the potential for one of them to sell and for one of them to buy. So look at your risk. Don't sell them both and don't buy them both. Because obviously, if you sell them both and price decides to move up, then you take a bigger loss than you would have took because these pairs are positively correlated. On the other end, we've got New Zealand dollar CAD and AUDCAD. These pairs are positively correlated as well. But on one pair, we're looking to buy. On another pair, we're looking to sell. Obviously, if you guys remember the analysis, for the buy that we're looking for on Aussie CAD, it's going to require some patience. For the sell that we're looking for on New Zealand dollar CAD, price is right there and all we're looking for is a chart pattern. So what that means is that there won't be a time where I'm involved in both of these pairs at the same time, and there won't be a time ever in this world where I'm going to risk more on this sell than I'm going to risk on this buy. Why am I saying that? Is because on New Zealand dollar CAD, the only reason we're buying is because of the structure. But higher time frame, I mean, the only reason we're selling is because of the price action, the structure. But higher time frame, we want to be buyers. So why would we put more money going down than we will going up when we understand that higher time frame makes more sense to be a buyer? So obviously use correlation and use all of this because your primary job is to, number one, manage risk, protect your capital. And once you've managed that risk and once you've taken a trade and you've taken that risk, try and make something from that risk. So involve yourselves in trades that give you good probabilities, which means that I'm trading in areas where I know other buyers or other sellers were trading, because chances are that if they're there looking at their screens and all of the reasons why they sold the first time are still relevant the second time, they're probably going to sell again. Other point being is that I also want to enter trades that give me risk to reward ratio, because risk to reward ratio is going to help me when I incur those losses that I don't know when I'm going to have them. If I'm trading or if I'm taking trades that give me, for example, like for me, I don't buy or I don't sell if I don't get a minimum of 1:6 on my trade. That's how my new maths, because I started taking a lot more losses in my trades because my trade frequency has gone up, I needed to accommodate for those more losses with bigger risk to reward ratio trades. So if I look at this cell, and between this cell and this take profit here doesn't give me 1:6, then is there a reason for me to sell it? No, because if I continue to take these trades and they continue to give me less than 1:6, I'm going to lose money over a large sample size. So all we're doing is trying to protect our capital. We take that risk and do the best that we can after we've taken that risk to make some money after we've took the risk. Otherwise, guys, let there be peace in the streets. We're 100% done with the analysis, guys. Enjoy. I'm gonna upload this on YouTube just in case anyone maybe was late and they missed a couple of pairs. Cheers, guys.